Welcome to this session on setting up the Customer Master Data template to import data into the system. In this session, we'll help you understand how to use the Excel workbook that's used to configure your Customer Master Data. The workbook contains several sheets, and each one has a specific purpose to help define how customers are handled in the system. We'll start with the instruction sheet. This sheet acts as your step-by-step guide. It explains what details you need to enter, how to enter them correctly, and how the other sheets in the workbook are connected. It also highlights which fields are mandatory and what formatting is required to ensure a successful upload. The instruction sheet provides clarity on how to correctly define customers, configure customer contacts, locations, bank details, and assign accounting settings, along with related attributes such as payment methods and terms. These settings are essential for enabling consistent, accurate, and automated customer handling across all transactions in the system. To learn more about how to use this guide, you can also watch the Data Template Overview session. It gives you a better understanding of how to read and work with the instruction sheet effectively. Let's walk through the Business Partner Group sheet. This sheet is used to define and manage the various types of business partner groups that exist within your organization, such as customers that fall into categories like local customers, raw material consumers, etc. Each row in this sheet represents one business partner group configuration. You'll enter key details that help categorize customers and manage reporting or processing logic based on these groups. Let's start with the first column. Organization. Here, you need to enter the exact name of the organization that this business partner group applies to. For example, Sonic Venture. If the business partner group should apply to all organizations, simply enter an asterisk. This means the setup is common across every organization in the system. Next, we move to the search key. This field is used to uniquely identify each record. If you don't provide a value, the system will automatically generate a search key. However, it is good practice to provide a unique numeric value for easier tracking and referencing. Then we have the name. This is a mandatory field. You must provide the name of the business partner group. For example, values like local customer or raw material consumers. This name helps the system and users recognize which group a customer belongs to. Now we come to the description. This field is optional, but it's highly recommended to fill it in. You can provide a brief description of the business partner group. For instance, customers operating in the same region or consumes raw materials. This helps users quickly understand the purpose or categorization of the group during configuration and reporting. And that's it for the business partner group sheet. Once this information is entered correctly, the system will be able to group customers logically, enabling better organization, streamlined processing, and accurate reporting based on customer types or categories. Now let's move to the accounting default, BP group sheet. This sheet is used to define the accounting defaults associated with specific business partner groups within an organization. These account mappings ensure that transactions for each customer group are posted to the correct ledger accounts automatically and accurately. Let's start with the first column, name of the organization. Here, you'll enter the exact name of the organization that the accounting defaults apply to. For example, Sonic Venture. If the defaults should apply to all organizations, you can enter an asterisk. This indicates that the settings are applicable system-wide across all organizations. Now let's move to the second column, business partner group. This field must be selected from the drop-down list, which pulls values from the name field in the business partner group sheet. For example, local customer or raw material. This ensures that accounting rules are linked correctly to the appropriate customer group. Next, we come to the accounting defaults, which are represented by the following columns: accounts receivable trade, accounts receivable services trade, bad debts, write-off, customer prepayments, payment discount expense. Each of these fields requires a ledger code that corresponds to a specific account in your chart of accounts. These accounts are used automatically during transaction posting. Let's break them down one by one. Accounts receivable, trade. This is the account used when recording receivables related to trade transactions with customers. Accounts receivable services, trade. This field captures the ledger code for receivables from services provided to customers. Bad debts, write-off. This is the ledger account used for writing off unpaid or unrecoverable customer balances. Customer prepayments. This field records the ledger code for advance payments received from customers. Payment discount expense. This is the account where any expense incurred due to early payment discounts offered to customers is posted. Shape all ledger codes entered must already exist in your system's chart of accounts. Incorrect or missing codes will result in posting errors and failed transactions. And that's it for the accounting default, BP group sheet. Once filled out correctly, this configuration ensures automated, accurate accounting for different types of customer transactions based on their assigned business partner group. The next sheet is related to payment method. The payment method sheet defines how customers are to make payments to the organization. It ensures consistency and compliance by standardizing available payment options across all incoming transactions. Let's start with the first column, name of the organization. In this column, enter the exact name of the organization for which the customer payment method is being configured. For example, Sonic Venture. If the payment method applies to all organizations, enter an asterisk. This helps the system identify which payment method is valid for which organization. Next, we have the second column, search key. This is a unique identifier used to distinguish each customer payment method record. This value should be unique and consistent. If you do not provide a value here, the system may assign one automatically. Moving to the third column, name of the payment method. This is the official name of the payment method being defined. Examples include check, wire transfer, or direct debit. This field is mandatory. It is used throughout the system to reference how payments are received from customers. Now, let's look at the fourth column, payment base. Type. This column specifies the fundamental type of incoming payment from customers. This is a drop-down field, and only values from the list should be selected to maintain consistency. Next, we move to the fifth column, payment rule. Specifies how the payment is processed, either manually or electronically. Select a value from the drop-down list to ensure consistency. Available options, EFT, electronic funds transfer, and manual. Finally, we have the sixth column, payment type. Indicates whether incoming payments are processed individually or in batches. Select from the drop-down list to ensure only valid options are used. Available options, batch for multiple payments processed together and single for one payment per transaction. This configuration ensures that each customer is associated with a well-defined, valid, and approved payment method. From the mode of payment to how and when it is processed, all parameters are covered in this sheet, ensuring proper control and automation of payment handling from customers. Now, let's move to the next sheet, payment term. This sheet is used to define the terms of payment for your customers. It specifies how many days after an invoice is issued that payment is expected, whether the payment is considered an advance, and if it should be the default term for that organization. First column, name of the organization. This column captures the exact name of the organization to which the payment term applies. For example, Sonic Venture. As seen across all sheets, the organization name must be consistent and correctly spelled. If the payment term applies universally, you may enter an asterisk indicating that the term is common to all organizations. Next is the search key. This field is used to assign a unique identifier for each record. If you don't have a specific value, the system will generate one automatically. This is useful for internal system tracking and mapping. Then we have the name of the payment term. This is the label or title of the payment term, and it is required. Examples include immediate, 30 days, 60 days. Next comes the description. This field is optional. You can use this to give a brief explanation of the term. This helps provide clarity when terms are similar or when documentation is required. For example, due date after 30 days, immediate payment, then the net days. This is a numeric field that defines how many days after the invoice date the payment is due. Examples: 0 for immediate, 30 for due after 30 days, 60 for due after 60 days. Next is the advance column. This is a checkbox field represented by Y and N. Y means yes and N means no. Use Y if this payment term is considered an advance payment. Otherwise, use N. Then we have the default field. This field also uses Y/N to indicate whether this payment term is the default for the organization. Only one term should typically be marked as default for each organization. Finally, the schedule percentage and schedule net days columns. These are optional fields used for installment or split payments. Schedule percentage, the portion of the total amount due, e.g., 50 for 50%. Schedule net days, number of days after the invoice date for that portion to be paid. Leave these blank if the payment is not scheduled in parts. Note: make sure that all payment terms are properly configured and consistent across all related customer data to ensure accurate due date calculations and payment scheduling in the system. This completes the configuration for the payment term sheet. This setup ensures that Sonic Ventures customer payments follow predefined controlled terms, improving cash flow management and accounting compliance. Let's move to Incoterm sheet. This sheet is used to define the Incoterms, international commercial terms, related to your customers and organizations. These terms specify the responsibilities of buyers and sellers for the delivery of goods under sales contracts. First column, name of the organization. This column captures the exact name of the organization to which the Incoterm applies. For example, Sonic Venture. As in all sheets, the organization name must be consistent and correctly spelled. If the Incoterm applies universally, you may use an asterisk to indicate it applies to all organizations. Next is search key. This field is used to assign a unique identifier for each Incoterm record. If you don't have a specific value, the system will generate one automatically. This key helps with internal system tracking and mapping. Then we have the name of the Incoterm. This is the label or title of the Incoterm, and it is a mandatory field. Examples include O delivered duty, paid O carriage and insurance paid O free carrier. Finally, the description column. This field is optional, but it's highly recommended to fill it in. Use this field to provide a brief explanation or description of the Incoterm. This helps clarify the responsibilities and conditions defined by the term. Example description: O delivered duty. Paid, DDP, means the seller assumes all responsibility for transporting the goods until they reach an agreed-upon destination. Note: make sure all Incoterms are accurately described and linked to the correct organization for consistent application during customer transactions. This completes the configuration for the Incoterm sheet. Let's move to the next sheet. Customer. The customer sheet is designed to capture all essential information about customers that the organization does business with. It ensures each customer is uniquely identified, categorized appropriately, and linked to the correct payment rules and methods. First column is name of the organization. This column records the name of the organization that is onboarding or managing the customer. For example, Sonic Venture. If the customer record applies to all organizations, use an asterisk. Ensure the name is consistent with other sheets for correct mapping. Next is customer code. This is the unique identifier for the customer. This must be unique for each customer and is required. It helps in tracking and managing customer records without confusion. Then we have Name of the customer. This field captures the official business name of the customer. For example, IND Swift Limited, Marble Finvest. This should be the same name that appears on invoices and contracts. This is a mandatory field. After that, we have Group. This column categorizes the customer based on their business type or purpose. For example, local customer, raw material consumers. Select a value from the drop-down list which is listed in the Business Partner Group sheet, specifically from the name field. Proper grouping allows for segmentation and applying specific processes per category. Next comes Payment Term. This defines the agreed duration within which the customer should make payment after invoicing. Examples: immediate, 30 days, 60 days. Select a value from the drop-down list, which is listed in the Payment Term sheet, from the Name field. This ensures consistent payment scheduling across the system. Then we have Payment Method. This field specifies how the payment will be made by the customer. Examples: wire transfer, check, direct debit. Select a value from the drop-down list, which is listed in the Payment Method sheet, from the Name field. It ensures that all customers follow approved payment processes. Next is GSTIN. This field stores the goods and services tax identification number of the customer. It is used for statutory compliance in tax reporting. Must follow the valid GSTIN format. If GST is applicable to the customer, ensure this is filled correctly. Next is Price List. This column defines the name of the price list used to sell goods or services to the customer. Example: Sales Price List, INR. This must match exactly with the price list defined in the Price List Master. Don't type custom values. It should match an existing value from the price list configuration. Next is Price List Currency. This field indicates the currency in which sales to the customer are made. Example: INR USD. This is a drop-down field. Select from available currency codes to ensure accuracy. Next is Customer Return Policy. This column defines the return policy agreed upon with the customer, specifying the time window within which returned goods are accepted. Select the value from the drop-down list to ensure uniform return terms across customers. Example values: 7 days return, 15 days return, 30 days return, 45 days return. Next is Credit Status. This field specifies the current credit standing of the customer in the system. It helps the organization assess whether the customer is eligible for credit-based transactions or if any credit restrictions apply. Select a value from the drop-down list. Next is Credit Validation. This field defines the system action to be taken when a customer's transaction violates credit rules, such as exceeding the credit limit or defaulting. It helps control financial risk by automatically restricting certain sales processes. Select a value from the drop-down list. Next is Credit Limit. This defines the maximum credit allowed for the customer. For example, 1 lakh. If the customer should not be extended credit, use 0. Next is Business Registration Number, BRN. This field captures the official registration number of the customer as issued by the government or regulatory authority. It acts as a legal identifier for verifying the customer's legitimacy and compliance. Avoid duplicates or incorrect values. Next is Incoterm. The Incoterm specifies the international commercial term that governs the shipping responsibilities between your organization and the customer. Examples: Delivered Duty Paid, DDP, Free Carrier, Carriage and Insurance Paid to, Named Place of Destination. Please select a value directly from the drop-down list. The value must exactly match a valid entry from the Incoterm sheet. Next is Rating. This column classifies customers based on their importance, performance, or reliability. Select a value from the drop-down list. Available values Not rated, low rating, medium rating, high rating. These ratings may later impact customer prioritization, reporting, or workflow automation. Then we have supply type. This specifies the nature of transaction or supply category for the customer. Select the correct value from the drop-down list. Ensure it matches predefined codes and descriptions. Next is PAN. This column records the customer's permanent account number, PAN, a 10-character alphanumeric identifier issued by the Indian Income Tax Department. This is mandatory for Indian customers for taxation compliance. Helps ensure customers are registered and validated under government regulations. Next is TAN. The Tax Deduction and Collection Account Number, TAN, is a 10-character alphanumeric code required for entities deducting tax at source. Next is TDS applicable on AR invoice. This field indicates whether TDS should be deducted on accounts receivable invoices from the customer. This is a yes/no checkbox field. Enter Y for yes, TDS is applicable. Enter N for no, TDS is not applicable. Enter only Y or N, no other values are permitted. Next is TDS applicable on AR receipt. This setting checks if TDS should apply during AR receipts rather than on invoice. Enter Y for yes, apply TDS during receipt. Enter N for no, TDS not applicable at receipt stage. Finally, we have blank. So allow indicates whether blanket sales orders, blanket SOS, are allowed for this customer. Enter Y for yes, blanket SOs are allowed. Enter N for no, blanket SOs are not allowed. This completes the configuration for the customer sheet. Once filled out accurately, this ensures your customer records are correctly set up for compliant, streamlined operations across all sales and receivables processes. Now that customer records are defined, let's move to the customer location sheet. This sheet captures detailed address and contact information for each customer location. This information is essential for logistics, taxation, documentation, and communication purposes. The first column is Name of the organization. This identifies the organization for which the customer location is being maintained. Enter the exact organization name. For example, Sonic Venture. This field is mandatory. It ensures that the customer location is correctly associated with the managing business entity. Next column is Customer Code. This field links the location entry to a specific customer record from the customer sheet. Select the value from a drop-down list. The list is populated from the customer sheet. This mapping ensures data consistency and prevents manual typing errors. Make sure the customer code exists in the customer sheet. Do not enter free text. This link is essential for accurate mapping and reporting of customer addresses. Next is Address Line 1. This column captures the primary street address details. Include the building number, street name, P.O. box, or locality. This field is mandatory. Example: SCO number, Industrial Park. Now we come to Address Line 2. Use this for secondary address components such as apartment, suite, or building identifiers. This field is optional. Helps with more accurate and detailed location data. Next is Address Line 3. Use this for locality, area, or any other extra address component that enhances accuracy. This is optional. Moving on to City Name. Specify the name of the city where the customer is located. This field is mandatory. Used for tax, jurisdiction, and logistics. Examples: Chandigarh, Chennai, Mumbai. Next column is State/region. This identifies the state or region where the customer is located. Examples: Haryana, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. Important for taxation and compliance. Now we have Zip Code. This field records the postal or PIN code of the customer's location. The value must be numeric. It supports correct delivery and regional reporting. Next is Country defines the country for the customer location. This is a mandatory field. Select from the drop-down list to ensure accuracy. Example, India. Now we have phone captures the telephone number for the customer's location. It supports direct communication regarding orders, delivery, or support. Finally, we have fax. This field stores the fax number of the customer, if available. Optional. Useful if your business still deals with fax communication in legal or commercial workflows. This sheet ensures that all customer locations are accurately captured, linked to the correct customer, and validated with complete contact and address details, supporting consistent operations across departments. Next sheet is related to customer contact. This sheet stores the contact details of individuals associated with a customer. These contacts are crucial for operational coordination, communication, and issue resolution. First column is name of the organization. This identifies the organization for which the customer contact is being maintained. Enter the exact organization name. For example, Sonic Venture. Then we have customer code. This is a mandatory field and must match exactly with a value in the customer sheet. It's selected from a drop-down list sourced from the customer code column in the customer sheet. This ensures each contact is mapped to the correct customer master record. Next is contact person name. Enter the name of the contact person responsible or available for communication with your company. This could be someone from accounts, procurement, or customer service. Example, Adam Gill, Rosh Mello. Now, email address. This is a required field. Enter the official email ID of the customer contact, used for sending documents like invoices, confirmations, or resolving queries. Next column, phone. Enter the landline or alternate number for the customer contact. This number is used for formal communication or secondary verification, optional but recommended for additional reachability. And then, mobile. Enter the mobile number of the contact person. This field is important for quick coordination or immediate contact when required. Finally, designation. Specify the job title or designation of the contact person within the customer organization. Example, procurement manager, accounts executive. Helps identify the role and level of authority of the contact. This is an optional but helpful field for context. The customer contact sheet captures key individuals linked to your customers. Maintaining accurate contact data ensures smooth communication across business processes, such as order processing, billing, and service resolution. Let's move to the bank account sheet. This sheet contains all essential banking details for each customer, helping ensure payments are processed correctly and securely. First column is name of the organization. Here, you enter the name of the customer's organization, just like in the previous sheets. This links the banking details to the correct customer. Next column is customer code. This is the unique identifier for each customer. It should be selected from the drop-down, which pulls values directly from the customer sheet. Next is bank. This field captures the name of the customer's bank. It should match with the official bank name from the bank master data. Examples: State Bank of India, ICICI Bank. Moving on to bank account. Type. This defines what type of account the customer is using. You will select this from a drop-down list, which includes options like checking, savings, letter of credit, credit card. Next is routing number. This field contains the bank routing number, used to route checks and enable electronic transactions. It uniquely identifies the legal bank. Next is account name. This is the name of the person or business holding the bank account. For examples, Avashanav Gupta, Kavita Sharma. Next column is account number. Here you enter the full bank account number of the account holder, required for direct transactions, followed by BBAN and IBAN. BBAN is the basic bank account number. IBAN is the international bank account number. These fields are optional and are generally used for international transactions. Address fields like address line 1, 2, 3, city name, state, zip code, and country name. Enter them the same way as explained in the customer location sheet. Just make sure this time you're entering the bank's address details, not the customer's. So follow the same format, just update the data according to the bank's location. The next sheet is related to unallocated and unreconciled receipt. This sheet records receipt transactions that have not yet been allocated to specific invoices or fully reconciled. It helps track customer receipts, requiring further action for proper accounting and customer reconciliation. The first column is Name of the Organization. This field captures the name of the organization receiving the payment. For example, Sonic Venture. This identifies the legal entity involved in the transaction. The next column is Payment Document Number. This represents the unique identifier for each receipt document. Each number must be unique to avoid duplication and maintain clarity in payment tracking. Example, AR-R10001. Then we have Document Type of Payment. This specifies the nature of the receipt transaction. For instance, AR receipt. The value must be selected from a predefined drop-down list to ensure consistent categorization. Next is Name of the Bank. This field captures the name of the bank in which the payment was received. Example entries: State Bank of India, ICICI Bank. The bank name should be referenced from the bank master data to ensure accuracy and consistency. Next is the bank account number. This field stores the specific bank account number where the receipt was deposited. It must match exactly with a corresponding account in the bank master sheet. Next is transaction date. This captures the actual date on which the receipt was received. The format must be DD-MM-YYYY. For example, 1st of September 2025. It reflects when the cash inflow occurred. Then we have account date. This is the date on which the receipt transaction is posted into the accounting system. This also follows the DD-MM-YYYY format. For example, 1st of September 2025. It determines the accounting period of the transaction. Moving on, as on date, cutoff date. This is an informative field that shows the cutoff date for the balances being imported. It tells us the specific date from which we are taking or retrieving the balances. Next, description allows for an optional note, such as AR receipt against AR invoice, helping provide context for auditors or analysts during reviews. Then customer code. Select the unique identifier assigned to the customer from a drop-down list. This list is populated from the customer sheet to ensure consistency and accuracy in linking the receipt to the correct business partner. Moving on, currency code. This captures the currency in which the receipt transaction is recorded, such as INR. You must choose this from a drop-down list to maintain consistency and accuracy. It reflects the currency in which the bank account maintains balances. Next, currency rate type. This defines the conversion method applied, for example, spot, average, company, or period end, and is used internally when processing foreign currency transactions. This ensures compliance with accounting best practices for currency valuation. Then, currency conversion rate. This captures the actual exchange rate used when converting the receipt from foreign currency to local currency. If your transaction uses multi-currency, you must enter this numeric rate here. Accurate entry helps track realized gains or losses from currency fluctuations. Moving on, payment amount in local currency. This shows the converted amount in your local accounting currency. For example, 21,000 rupees. This is a mandatory field and ensures that your financial reports are based on a consistent local currency for clarity and compliance. Next, payment amount in document currency. This field records the original receipt amount in its document currency, if different from the local currency. It supports precise audit trails and reconciliation, by clearly showing the actual payment amount received from the customer. Then, payment method. This specifies how the customer made the payment, such as wire transfer or direct debit. This must be selected from a drop-down linked to the payment method sheet to ensure standardized transaction recording across the system. Moving on, check a date. This field is required only if the payment method is check. Enter the date in DD-MM-YYYY format to indicate when the check was issued. This field is left blank for non-check methods like wire transfer or direct debit. Next, check number. This captures the check number if applicable. It becomes mandatory when the payment method is set to check. Recording the check number helps with tracking and manual or automated reconciliation. Then, is prepayment. This field indicates whether the receipt is an advance or prepayment. Enter Y for yes or N for no. Marking it correctly ensures the receipt is processed appropriately, either applied to future invoices or recognized as an open payment. Moving on, is reconciled. This is a yes-no checkbox showing whether the receipt has been matched against the bank statement. Enter Y if the payment has been reconciled, or N if the bank reconciliation is still pending. This field is essential for accurate reporting and helps identify unprocessed transactions during reconciliation. Next is allocated. This field lets you mark whether the payment has been applied to a specific invoice. Enter Y if the receipt is already allocated to a customer invoice, or N if it's still unassigned. It ensures accurate tracking of open items and prevents duplication or missed allocation during financial close. Finally, ledger code records the mapping reference to your general ledger. Enter the code used in your accounting system to link this transaction to the appropriate GL account. This ensures traceability, audit readiness, and alignment with standard accounting practices. In this way, you enter the data in the workbook for unallocated and unreconciled receipt. Ensure each field is filled accurately to maintain consistency and facilitate smooth reconciliation processes. Let's move to the outstanding receivable invoices sheet. This sheet is used to record and upload all outstanding customer invoices that are receivable as of a specific opening date. These entries ensure that your receivables ledger is accurate and all historical receivables are properly brought into the system. Each row in this sheet represents a single customer invoice and includes key fields to help the system correctly identify, classify, and track the receivable amount against customers. Let's go through each column step by step. First, we have organization. Here, you need to enter the exact name of the organization to which the invoice belongs. For example, Sonic Venture. This allows the system to correctly associate the invoice with the appropriate business entity for financial reporting and customer reconciliation. Then we have invoice document type. Select the appropriate invoice document type from the drop-down list. Common examples include AR invoice, AR credit memo. This helps the system identify the nature of the transaction, whether it's a receivable or a reduction of receivable. Next is invoice document number. This is a unique identifier for the customer invoice. Each entry must be unique to avoid duplication and support accurate tracking of receivables in the system. For example, ARI 10001. Then we have order reference. If this invoice is linked to a sales order, enter the order reference number here. This field is optional, but it's very useful for tracing back the invoice to its originating order for validation or audit purposes. Next is invoice number. Enter the original invoice number received from the customer or raised internally. This helps ensure clarity and facilitates smooth reconciliation with external customer records. Then we have description. This is an optional field where you can enter a short description of the invoice. For example, account receivable invoice against IND Swift LT. Adding a clear description provides helpful context to users during audits or reviews. Next is date invoice. This is the date printed on the invoice document. Make sure to use the format DD-MM-YYYY. This date helps identify when the invoice was officially raised and becomes part of the audit trail. Then we have account date. Enter the general ledger posting date for the invoice. Use the same DD-MM-YYYY format. This date determines when the transaction will hit your accounting books and will be considered for financial reporting and cutoff purposes. Next is customer code. Select the unique identifier assigned to the customer from a drop-down list. It ensures the receivable invoice is mapped to the correct customer account in your system. Then we have payment term. Specify the payment term agreed upon with the customer. Examples include immediate 30 days, 60 days. This field must be selected from a drop-down list tied to the payment term sheet to ensure consistency and automate due date calculations. Then, we have due date. This is the net due date by which the invoice is expected to be paid. The system typically calculates this based on the invoice date plus payment term. Use format DD-MM-YYYY. For example, if invoice date is 14th April 2025 and payment term is immediate, then due date is also 14th April 2025. Then we have payment method. This column captures how the customer intends to pay, for example, via wire transfer or direct debit. It should be selected from a drop-down tied to the payment method sheet to ensure accuracy in payment processing. Next is currency code. Here, you must select the currency in which the invoice is raised. Example, Indian rupee, USD, etc. This field uses a drop-down list and must be selected correctly for accurate financial reporting. Then we have currency type. This column defines the method used for currency conversion, especially if the invoice is in a foreign currency. Valid options include average, company, period end, spot. This setting helps the system apply the correct exchange rate based on the selected method. If your invoice is in a foreign currency, enter the currency rate. This rate determines the exchange value from the foreign currency to your local currency. Then we have representative name. Enter the name of the sales representative or company agent responsible for handling the customer or this particular invoice. For example, John Doe or Jack. This should ideally match the entries in the user master to ensure consistency in user mapping and reporting. Next is representative, staff ID/employee code. If the representative is an internal employee, enter their employee code or staff ID here. This helps the system identify which staff member is responsible for managing the customer account or relationship. Then we have invoice amount in local currency. This field captures the total invoice amount in the company's local currency. For example, INR. It is mandatory for accounting purposes and ensures consistency in financial reporting. Example values: 21,300, etc. Next is invoice line amount in specific currency. If the invoice was originally raised in a foreign currency, this column will reflect the actual invoice amount in that foreign currency. For example, if the invoice is raised in USD or EUR, record the value here. If the invoice currency is the same as the local currency, this field can either be left blank. Finally, we have ledger code. Enter the general ledger GL account code, where the receivable will be recorded. This ensures the transaction is posted to the correct account in your accounting system. This code must align with the chart of accounts used by your organization. The outstanding receivable invoices sheet is crucial for capturing all opening AR balances during your system migration. Each column is designed to categorize and record invoices accurately, so it's important to fill this sheet with clean, validated data. Next sheet is related to outstanding receivable invoices. Schedule. After entering the outstanding receivable invoices, you need to fill the outstanding receivable invoices schedule sheet. The first sheet, outstanding receivable invoice, records the total invoice amount receivable. This second sheet, outstanding receivable invoices schedule, breaks it into scheduled receivable entries. Each invoice number in this schedule is selected from a dropdown, tied to the invoices listed in the previous sheet. The total of all receivable schedule lines should match the full invoice amount entered previously. First, we have name of the organization. Enter the name of the organization that will receive the invoice receipt. For example, Sonic Venture. This must match the name used in the outstanding receivable invoice sheet to ensure correct linkage. Then, invoice document type. Choose the correct invoice type from the drop-down list. For example, AR invoice, AR credit memo. This helps the system classify the type of receivable. Next is invoice number. This is a drop-down field linked to the outstanding receivable invoice sheet. Select the appropriate invoice number. Ensures the receivable schedule ties back to an actual invoice. Then, date invoice. Enter the same invoice date as recorded in the outstanding receivable invoice sheet. Format: D, D-M, M-Y, Y, Y, Y. Keeps both sheets synchronized for reporting and reconciliation. Next is payment due date. Enter the due date by which the customer is expected to pay. This should be based on the payment term from the previous sheet. For example, if payment term is 30 days and invoice date is 1st of September 2025, then due date equals 1st of October 2025. Then, amount due. Enter the amount expected to be received as part of the schedule. Can be the full invoice or partial amount depending on installment plans. Entered as numeric only. Next is currency. Select the currency in which the invoice was issued. Must be selected from a drop-down to ensure consistency and prevent manual entry errors. For example, INR USD. Then we have amount in local currency. This is the value of the receivable in your local currency. If the invoice was issued in the local currency, the amount will match the original. Otherwise, it will reflect the converted value. Finally, amount in specific currency. If the invoice is in a foreign currency, enter the original invoice amount in that currency here. If both currencies match, this field will match the local currency field. In this same way, you can enter the details of outstanding invoices and invoice schedules. Now let's move to the final sheet, List Reference. This sheet contains all the standard drop-down options and lookup codes that are used across the other sheets in the workbook. Here you'll find important categories like credit status, beneficiary ID indicator, invoicing rule, customer return policy, bank account, type notification, type country details, and more, all listed clearly for easy selection. Using these predefined lists helps keep your data consistent and accurate, reducing the chance of manual errors. It also speeds up your work because you can simply select values from drop-down menus instead of typing them out each time. Whenever you're filling out any of the other sheets and need to know which options to choose, you can refer back to this list reference sheet for quick guidance. By following the structure and rules outlined in this session, you'll be able to complete and upload your customer-related data template accurately and efficiently. Thank you for going through this session. We hope it helps you fill in the customer-related data correctly and ensures smooth and consistent customer master data management.